Okay. So this is section 2.7.1, and this is the one that that Ms. Stevens is going to do on Friday. But I wanted to touch base on it so she can use this video if she wants to get through at least your checkpoints and everything to make it a little bit easier. Um, because this talks about your if, your elif, and your else statements, and there's a little bit of a variation to just kind of like conceptually what this is. So we have the if conditional, right? And we check to see if the if condition is met or not, if that's a true statement. And the difference with your elif is it's just a condensed concept of else if, right? So every time you use an elif, instead of just using an additional if statement, the elif means if that first condition is met, then we will check to see if this condition is met or not. Because if you're using multiple if statements, all those if statements are always going to be checked. Whereas if you have an elif can only be after an initial if statement, right? So that initial if statement has to exist for an elif to exist, because the elif is actually going to only be checked if the if statement has not been met, right? If the if statement is met, then the elif will never be checked, right? So here initially they're just doing the if and else, just like always, right? So if or else, the only two conditions can exist, right? So if this condition is met, the cyan. If it's not met, then it's the gold, right? But with an elif, something we can do with an elif is, if the condition is met, we're going to get our cyan. Else, if this new condition is met, so now it's going to check the second condition. If the cyan condition is not met, it's going to check the new condition, and then it will actually do these bordered circles. And then last but not least, the catch-all is your else statement, right? So just kind of progressively going through that, we allow ourselves multiple situations where we can actually kind of change, but only one of those conditions is going to exist at any given time. They're not going to overlap. That's, if you want conditions to be able to overlap, you have to use multiple if statements. You cannot use elifs if you want multiple conditions to exist at the same time, right? So it asks the questions, well, what happens in the previous example if we use if instead of the elif? Well, if we use the if instead of elif, like I said, multiple conditions can exist. So at that point, the cyan circles are going to actually have a black ring around them because both of those conditions are met, right? So if we change what's happening at line 9 to an if statement and we rerun that, we're still getting that one, we're still getting that condition, right? But on this one, we're actually getting our cyan circles and our black outline, right? So the cyan circles are drawn with a black ring. Submit that, we're good to go. So we can use multiple elif statements so we can actually break it up into multiple sections, right? So using these two elif statements, we can actually break it up into 4-color array, right? So that light blue happens here, this magenta or this light purple happens here, or plum. It's plum. So this is cyan, this is plum, this is teal, and this is gold, right? So the 4 colors are existing there. But if we set it up in such a way that that we run this code right here, we can see that we're getting cyan circles, and we're getting borders up here, and we're getting nothing down here because neither of the conditions actually are met, so nothing happens when we're down here. But if we click up here, we're actually getting both conditions met. So why is it not giving us the border circles as well? And that's because, like I said, when we use an else if or an elif, we check the first if condition, and if that one is being met, then we never check any of the elifs whatsoever, right? If our first condition is met on the if statement, we don't check elifs. You can only use multiple conditions if you're just making them all an if statement itself. Like if you have an elif, it is only going to check that condition if the if statement is not met, right? So that's why you can have multiple elifs to actually create different conditions, right? So just kind of like digging into that, why do we not get black rings on the top right, top left? Because if that if condition is met, then it's never going to check the elif, right? So in the previous example, which of the four squares changes behavior if we use an if statement instead of an elif? It would be our top left square, because then we would have cyan circles drawn with black rings, right? So we can actually go up here and actually do that real quick. You run it, you'll see we get the cyan, we get borders, and then we get both up here, and nothing down here. All right. So run that, and we're good to go. And that completes all our checkpoints for these. So I will let you sit with that. I wanted to get through all these checkpoints real quick with you, so you can actually be set up and good to go to start doing some exercises on Wednesday as well as on Friday.